David Sizer, a motor vessel David Sizer, a towboat that is 1/35th scale. In previous episodes, you've seen the boat operate. In this particular part, we're going to look at how the boat was constructed in a modular fashion. Each part, or each subassembly, is separable from the rest. First, I'm going to talk about the setup of the boat. Right now, I have a plexiglass cage that comes above, just to the top of the handrails, the chain railings around the side of the boat. Gives us some protection when it's being transported in my vehicle, along with other boats and equipment. The boat is 1/35th scale, about 27 inches long, about 9.5 inches wide, and weighs about 15 pounds, and works very well. As we look at the outside of the boat, we have, this is the newest deck that was added, and again, using the modular methods for building, I was able to easily modify this boat by adding this deck in here and raising the rest up. The major subassemblies that we see here are the hull and then a deck structure. The deck structure is broken down further, that this deck structure right up to the roof is separable from the rest. This one then can be taken off and can be separated from the one above it, and the pilot house, the top deck, can be removed completely too. Also, for ease in transport, I could make the mast on the top come down, lay down flat. So first off, I'm going to just remove the cage, the protective barrier. First thing we're going to do in separating the boat is we're going to take the railing off, and then we'll take the superstructure. Also note that the little John boat is removable from the rest of the boat. There's a little metal plate in the underneath the seat of the John boat, and there's a magnet below the deck. First thing we can do is remove the entire superstructure assembly. The entire superstructure assembly removed, we can now look inside the boat. Again, everything is modular. The sound for the horn is removable via 2 screws and on connecting some wires to the servo that operates it. And the plate underneath it that carries the motors, the batteries, the radio, the speed controllers, everything, that can all be removed easily too by undoing 4 nuts and taking the universal joints off. The way this operates is that each motor has its own battery and its own speed controller. The one speed controller on this side actually has the battery source for the radio control. It has a battery eliminator circuit. So I can operate each motor independently of the other. Also at this time we can take a look at the rudder mechanism. The rudder has one servo that operates all 6 rudders. And they all turn together in sequence. 2 flanking rudders and 1 aft rudder. And 2 flanking rudders are forward of the quart nozzle, and the aft rudder is after the quart nozzle on each side. And they all turn in unison. Over here we have this little spring mechanism, spring string, that connects up to the cable. It actually goes up through the hull, and the cable can be pulled out and spring loaded to attach to any of the tow barges. Also, we're talking about towing here. I also have some more of these spring strings from the fabric store. And if you have an extra wide load of tow that you have in front of the boat, you can actually make connections like that, like this, very much like they have in the real towboats. Take a look on the bottom side of it. The entire first deck is all made of 10th inch plexiglass with a 16th inch plexiglass roof on it, or overhead. You can tilt it down, and you can see the inside of the plexiglass. The windows go through, so you can actually let some light on the inside. The modular ladder we have over here is for the stairwell or ladder that goes to up the deck, and that if we had to do some maintenance in there, this is removable. We can slide these out and get to the inside. This is some balsa wood floats just in case of an emergency happens, which I hope doesn't happen. This is the generator room with the doors are open. You can actually look through and there's a generator sitting inside. And that is all removable here. I have the elastic cord again, or springs, and they can be undone, and this whole center unit comes out. And we can remove the upper superstructures. Now, the next superstructure we can get into. This can also be removed from the pilot house. This level here, the middle level, can be removed from the pilot house by undoing 4 screws. And it separates right in here. I'm not going to separate it today because it does take a little bit of alignment to get it back together, but it is separable. This little switch that's in here, which actually you can reach up through the main superstructure and get at, is to turn the radar on the top deck. The top deck, we can also take that off the pilot house. Take the radar off, and this up, it takes a little bit of alignment to get it on and off, so, but it is removable. And then we can look inside the pilot house. Completely detailed. Put it back together, we simply align the conduit up with the radar post. The boat is quite easy to operate. Here I have a Futaba 4-channel 2.4 gigahertz radio. And we just turn the power on. Turn the power on to the left controller, the port controller first, because that also controls the radio signal. And we turn on the starboard controller. Port motor, starboard motor. And note that I'm only going about 1/3 speed on that. They're quite powerful motors and pretty fast, which is good to get you out of an emergency or if you have a really heavy load. This boat has pushed up a total of well over 200 pounds very easily. And I look forward to building some more barges so I can really have a heavy load for it. The rudders work in conjunction with each other. They all turn basically the same direction. And I'll just hit the horn. It's a very simple sound system from Electronics 123. Okay, now that we've taken a tour of the construction of the boat, the inside of the boat, to zoom in and focus on some details. All right, let's first start with the bow of the boat. And on the foredeck, we have a couple of workmen tying lines. These are 1/35 scale figures made from military figures, World War II usually, and they're easily carved up, and you can build up with a little JB weld to simulate life preservers, hats, and whatever you need. I swap them around. I also have 2 winches on the foredeck that are quite detailed. And then we'll go up to the top of the superstructure, all the way up to the top of the pilot house, where we have all of the electronic goodies, the radars and communication antennas and so on. And I opted to simulate a wiring duct with all the cables going around the front of the deck. If you look at a lot of towboats and tugboats, the upper deck does get a little cluttered with wiring. Some of it running every which way, but this one's a little bit more organized, but at least it has all of the parts are wired in. And next we're going to look at the heating and ventilation shack, which is on the aft part of the mid-superstructure. On top of it, I built up a simulated heating and ventilation, heating and air conditioning system up there on the deck. Behind that we have the stack and the intake filters for the engines. And if you look closely at the deck, you'll see that where the area around the stack is raised a little bit. And that simulates a plate that would be used in many towboats and tugboats to actually get at the engine for engine replacement. They would actually take this whole opening off and lift it up with a crane. Then they can get down inside the boat if they had to do an engine replacement. And then we'll move back a little further on the deck. I've got the winch, which is typically used for lowering the ship's boat, or in this case a John boat. Again, a lot of simulation of the details on it for the electric motors for the winches. It actually turns. It's not functional, but it does turn, so I can position it in different places. And the railing actually will uncouple, and the center post will come out, so they can. Okay, now we can look inside the structure, and we can see the engineer inside there. Behind him is a cage over the part of the generator where the exhaust system is, and it's pretty well detailed in there, and it's got some doors and shelves and so on. It's just a small area so that the doors are open on both sides of the towboat, and you can actually look through straight from one side to the other, and we can do that by putting a light over here on the far side and illuminating, and you can see we're going right through. That just adds some more detail to the boat, a little more personality. Well, thank you for looking at the video, and we conclude our video of the motor vessel David Sizer.